evening. Good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, we're just about 5 to 6 days away from the deadline for lockdown 2.0 to end. Now, what happens then? That's what everybody seems to be talking about. Will there be an extension? Will there be a partial extension? Can economic activity restart? Now, what are the conditions that the government will consider? All of this is the biggest talking point in India right now. And we are going to pick up this issue here on the Urban Debate. First up, let's talk about what happened in the day. Prime Minister Modi held a video conference with the state chief ministers to discuss the strategy post May 3rd. And this is what the Prime Minister said. He said lockdown has yielded positive results, that we've actually managed to save lots of lives because of the lockdown in the past 1.5 months. He says our aim now needs to be rapid response. We need to continue to follow the Do Gaj Duri mantra. In fact, Prime Minister made it very clear that the masks and the gloves and the social distancing, those norms are here to stay for a while, irrespective of whether or not the lockdown gets lifted next week. He also said that we must enforce strict guidelines in red zones, focus on converting red zones into green zones as soon as possible, but we must also give importance to economy as well. Now, let's also talk about, while this is what the Prime Minister had to say, and this is the centre's view, what did the various states do? Now, a lot of state chief ministers spoke during this meeting, others made their representation, submitted their representation. States are actually demanding the same, that they want economic activity to begin again. The country also needs to restart its growth engines. Some amount of business and manufacturing and industries have to start again. At least in the green zones, we can look at larger set of relief. That's what the states have said. They're also saying that they need support from the centre as far as some healthcare equipment is concerned, and of course more financial aid to battle COVID individually in the states. Sources also suggest that states raise the issue faced by the MSME pharma sector, by the small and medium enterprises, and the issues that they are facing, especially in the pharmaceutical sector. And then there were a couple of states who said that largely the lockdown should continue. Goa and Odisha were actually at the forefront of saying that, which is strange because Goa doesn't have any cases right now. But of course, it's one state that sees a lot of incoming traffic, tourists, and perhaps that's why they want their borders to continue remain sealed. So let's listen into a couple of comments that we got after that meeting before we take the conversation forward about what next.
प्रधानमंत्री जी का सार आज के वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग का यही था कि कोरोना हमारे बीच में रहेगा और आने वाले समय में काफ़ी दिनों तक हमारे बीच में रहेगा। ग्रीन जोन है ये ऑरेंज बन सकता है, जो ऑरेंज जोन है ये रेड बन सकता है, रेड के अंदर स्थिति और ख़राब हो सकती है। तो ये सोचना कि हम ग्रीन है तो अब कभी कोरोना का प्रभाव ही नहीं आएगा, ये एक गलत सोचना होगा। तो
in this disease, we are always saying lockdown, social distance. We have to maintain. It is the only way, I tell you. And COVID test. And in the two things we are doing, we are on the job. I have demanded that lockdown should continue. Otherwise, we cannot face these things in Odisha.
How many days, a month or anything?
Let it be 1 month more. Then we'll look what is going on.
So, should the lockdown be extended or should we open up? Should it be left to the states or should centre have a larger strategy as far as the entire country is concerned? Let's have a conversation and say good evening to our panelists joining us right now. Clyde Crasto, spokesperson for the NCP, Narendra Taneja, national spokesperson for the BJP, Mr. Devarayallu, Member of Parliament with the Lok Sabha and a member of YSRCP, Professor Shogato Roy, Member of Parliament for Lok Sabha and a member of the TMC, also with us, and Atul Anjan, National Secretary of the Communist Party of India. Clyde, let's start with you because Maharashtra is a state with the highest number of COVID patients, though it's largely in a few districts and not across. But we are seeing a significant rise, not just in number of patients, but also in the number of orange zones and red zones. So what's the sense that your party, what's the view that your party has about lockdown?
Tanvi, I want to make it very clear to you, first and foremost, is that you're seeing higher numbers in Maharashtra for the very simple reason that Maharashtra is probably the only state in our country that is doing the highest number of testing. We have tested more than 108,000 people as of yesterday. I mean, I'm waiting for numbers for today, but we've tested more than 1 lakh of people, and about 1 lakh and odd number have tested negative. So 7.5, 8,000 people are positive. So if you're seeing high numbers, it's only because we are doing the highest number of testing. And that is a good sign, because when you do a highest number of testing, you know if people are going through this whole pandemic. And that helps us to actually treat them and bring them out in the open. Now, also the fact of the matter is, out of the people that have been tested positive, 80% of them are asymptomatic and 20% are showing signs of the coronavirus. Now, while doing so, it just helps us to work better on those people, treat them, and then make sure that they're all right. Now, also the other good news that I can share with you is the plasma therapy. Now, today, 4 corona patients who were recovered, we've tested that plasma, and it has proved positive for antibodies. So these are the good signs that have been happening in Maharashtra. Yes, I can see the numbers are going high. I can see that a lot of people are going through, but we have to understand that the more testing we do, the more numbers will come up and more treatment can be given to those people. And we are treating them. We are working on them. And every day, I mean, like yesterday, I'll tell you, there are a lot of complaints that were coming in that, that only clinics were only treating, corona patients, and the private clinic was shut. Now we have requested, there is a circular that's gone out to private clinics to start their clinics to treat normal people with having any kind of ailment. So these are the positive measures that we've been constantly taking in Maharashtra, and we will work harder. We are trying to make this better, and things will work out.
No, I get that. But before I go to other panelists, Clyde, but the fact of the matter also is that I'm looking at the data in front of me right now. As of April 15th, Maharashtra had 8 green zones and 10 red zones. Now, as of April 26, we have 17 red zones and 4 green zones. Now, one would ask this question, obviously, that when we have been in a lockdown for over a month now, almost a month and a half, a month and 1 more week, how is it that in places where there was no coronavirus, now more number of cases are coming up?
Now, see, Tanvi, you have to understand that this is something that we don't know. I mean, we say that the virus has been out already there. So it could be somebody, they don't show signs of the virus, then after testing, the virus comes up. So it again goes back to what I've been trying to tell you, is that the number of testing that we are doing the highest number of testing, and the more testing we do, the more we will know people. And that's good sign, because you understand that, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching us understand that if we test and we find out people have this symptom or are infected with this virus, we can treat them sooner. And the sooner we treat them, we are going to walk towards a corona-free state.
But suffice to say that now is not the time to lift the lockdown and look at relief across the state? Yes or no on that?
No, Tanvi, this is not as easy as saying yes or no. I'll tell you why it's not as easy as saying yes or no. Because at the end of the day, we have to work together as a unit. It's not my party, or my government or your government. It is the country. We have to work together with the center. We have to work together with our Prime Minister, the state, whether it's our government or any other government that is in any other state.
Okay.
Everybody has to come together and work and find a solution to fight this virus. And I think now is the time to be united.
Okay, now is the time to be united between the states and the center, says Clyde Crasto of the NCP. Professor Saugata Roy, would you agree?
Yes, we've always felt that the state and the center should work together. In our case, for West Bengal, the center does create problems sometimes, like sending a central team who make political comments, like having a governor who makes political comments. But our chief minister has always said that the state will go along with the center. Even in the matter of lockdown, the chief minister said earlier that we shall go by what the center says. And for lifting of the lockdown, We shall go by what the center does. We have today, our chief minister was there at the conference. She did not make any comment. But that is the general attitude. It's not a question of fighting. Unfortunately, some BJP people are creating an unseemly controversy over central team, over a governor, etc. These things should be avoided.
Okay, but what's the sense and what's your party's view? Should the lockdown be extended post May 3rd? What is it that the Chief Minister presented in the meeting?
No, our party has not yet given a view. As you know, in the meeting we have not given a view. But generally we can feel that if the center announces lifting of lockdown in certain areas, and keeping on the lockdown in certain other areas, we shall go by that. The center and the state have to act together in this matter without creating any problems. And West Bengal, in any case, is very low in the number of corona affected. We are 12th or 13th in the order. We have Maharashtra, Gujarat, Delhi, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, which are much worse affected. But it's an all India problem. We do not want to say that we are better than other states. But I think that the political attention that the center is giving to West Bengal is not warranted as per the present position.
Okay. Okay, let me bring in our other panelists as well. Mr. Atul Lanjan, is it time for us to start looking at some amount of relief, some further relaxation in the lockdown from May 3rd?
Tanviji, right now the chief minister has expressed their viewpoint, and most of the state chief ministers have expressed that this lockdown must continue for another 15 days, 20 days, or beyond 3rd of May. As per, reports are coming and how we can curtail and bring down the number of the coronavirus affected people, and how our measures, which is by the state and central government, have been taken. What is the impact and result of that one? But apart from that, only let us not discuss about the lockdown and all that. In this lockdown period, the crisis which has erupted, the corruption which has erupted, the way it is correctly said, the Maharashtra said, representative of NCP, only more than 1 lakh out till now in this whole period of 1 month, around 6 lakh tests we have done. We don't have the PPE. We don't have the kits. Whatever kits have been brought, these are all faulty one. And there is a corruption case. Corruption is there. Somebody is purchasing these kits in 370 rupees. Somebody is selling it to the central government, purchasing it to 600 rupees. Matter is in the Delhi High Court. Matter is in the Mumbai High Court. The question is this: Are we fighting corona, or at the same time we are patronizing corruption? So this has to be also seen. At the same time, the people are facing a crisis. The economic situation has further worsened. On one hand, we have to fight the corona. On one hand, the center and the state must go together to see that the virus and its killing spirit must be controlled. Less people should be victimized. But at the same time, the economy, which is further ruined after the GST, after the demonetization and all that. What is the position today? If the 80 lakh people, those who are working in the Middle East, Persian Gulf, which are sending about 70 to 72 billion dollars every year, if they come back, because the petroleum crisis is there and the petroleum related factories are not working in the Middle East, there is a few takers. If they come back in India, where we will give them the job? And the money which we are having, 70 to 72 billion, from where we will cover it up? Our exports have gone down. So these are the issues. And what is the point? I am just wanting to tell you, Tanviji, what is the point? People are dying due to hunger. And we are making sanitizers out of the rice. Why don't you free distribute it? What is the necessity of sanitization? Why sanitizer should be? Why don't you give it to the poor people? Where is the
So,
system?
Mr.
You center, yes,
Mr.
center and
Ranjan,
state
isn't that
should come
also the
together.
responsibility of state governments?
Yes, that is the good responsibility. Why you are pressing the state governments to lift the rice and use it for the making sanitizers? What is the point? Why don't you distribute it? That's the point.
But they are distributing it also. Okay, let me get in Mr. Narendra Taneja to get him to respond to what you're saying. Narendra Taneja, would you want to respond to what Atul Anjan of the CPI is saying?
No, I don't want to respond. I don't respond to people who play politics and everything. People who don't actually matter. I was here I was invited to have a debate on coronavirus and the meeting today between the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister. If you are interested in all this dirt, I'm sorry, I'm interested. Please allow me to leave. Thank you very much.
So should the lockdown be extended or not?
Tanvi, can I come in?
Mr. Narendra Taneja, should the lockdown be extended? What is the view of the BJP? Okay, Narendra Taneja does not want to be part of this conversation.
Tanvi, can I
People
come in?
sometimes do find excuses to get out of the
Tanvi, can I come
conversation
in?
and blame it on one single guest, and that's what's happened. Unfortunately, in this case, Mr. Atul Anjan, no response to you. Not only has your comment not elicited a response from the BJP, but the BJP has actually chosen to walk away from this conversation. Yes, Clyde, go ahead,
Tanvi.
please, make your point.
Tanvi, I'm very happy that
Tanviji, I said it very at the outset that the state and center must go together and they should work together, and these are the micro level and macro level issues. Yes, yes.
Yeah, can I complete, Anjanji, please? Okay,
Continue.
you know why? Tanvi, while I understand what Mr. Anjan is saying, and
Yes,
I can understand where all his grief is coming from. But also, in a way, yes, today is not the time, and now is not the time to play politics or discuss these things. You keep asking this question. What is your opinion about the lockdown? Like I said earlier, it's very important for us to sit together and work this out. I'll give you an example. Opening the lockdown, not opening the lockdown. The migrant issue. The migrant issue in every state is so important. Now, our Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, earlier also in the video conferencing, spoke to the Honorable Prime Minister and said we need to work a plan on how we can send the migrant workers from Mumbai and Maharashtra back to the states or where to home that they want to go to. Now, doing so is going to be a challenging issue. It's going to be a big task, and we need to actually sit together and work out between states. Whether it's from Mumbai or Pune to UP or Bihar or Rajasthan, any of these places. And when that comes in, the chief ministers from each of the state need to come across the board and, via video conferencing and discuss this. And when that happens, then the central government comes into play, because then again, the railways is a major part of this whole thing. How do we send these people back? So right now, after discussing all these things, after understanding all these things, we can come to a conclusion of how we work on the lockdown. And like Mr. Anjan said, he complained about certain things, and then you raised this issue that the state needs to step in and work on how to take care of people who don't have food, or people who the migrants who are sick. I'll tell you something that we are doing in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, for the migrant workers, we are actually taking care of nearly 5.5 lakh to 6 lakh migrants. 3 times a day, meals are being given to these migrants. Their breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they've been given accommodation. We have the Shiv Bhojan scheme.
No, but Clyde,
yeah,
that's fine. There are still many who are not getting any food. There are still those who want to go home. My point is, if Uttar Pradesh can find buses to bring back the migrants, what is the Maharashtra government waiting for? And simply putting the onus on the center. All the states individually are making their plan, getting the approval from the Home Ministry and going ahead.
Can I come to that now, Tanvi? Okay. Now, you raised a valid point. We decided not to do politics in this whole thing, right? We decided not to do politics because this is not the time. Now, you raised a very valid point that the UP government is taking buses and going so. We have been doing so. We have written to, there are so many students stuck in Kota. The Chief Minister, the Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Ajit Pawar, has written letters. We are awaiting approval from the Home Ministry. So, like you said, no politics. If I want, I can talk a lot about what politics is going on behind the scenes. But we do not want to do that right now. Right now, we want to see the safety of all those people from across districts. I can tell you a lot of reasons why UP has been getting the buses to go get their people back, and why the Maharashtra people from are stuck in Kota in Maharashtra. The people now, we are saying their people and our people. It is not their people, our people. These are citizens of our country. We should allow them to go back if they're stuck somewhere. But if these things are not happening right now, we will wait. We will keep asking the center to give us permission to get the people. We will work out a plan. But I'm not going to sit and say they are not doing this or not doing that, because now is not the time. If the UP government has been allowed permission, well, it's sad that we are not being allowed permission, but we will keep asking. We will do the right things. We will go the right way. And if then we have to send...
No, but have we asked permission?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. 2 letters have been given to the center.
Have we asked permission for migrants to be sent home to Uttar Pradesh and Bihar? Not the students. I'm not talking about the students right now.
I think you didn't hear me in the beginning. That's what I said. In the video conferencing between the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, and the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, he raised this issue that we need to work out a plan where we can send migrants back to, whether it's from Mumbai or Pune, back to their states of UP, Bihar, Rajasthan. We are willing to work it out along with the center. We have written to the center, spoken on the video conferencing. I'm repeating it again, that this question has been raised with the Prime Minister, and Mr. Uddhav Thackeray and our cabinet is willing to work on it.
Okay, let me also bring in Mr. Devarayallu, Member of Parliament for the Lok Sabha and of the YSRCP. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. What is your party and government's view? Should the lockdown be lifted on May 3rd or even a week after that?
Our party's view is we should take in consideration with regards to the farmers, with regards to small businesses, with regards to Andhra Pradesh being one of the strongest state that do a lot of food processing. So when you look at all these issues in unison, I think there is a requirement we should ease it phase-wise. Where the cases are, which district has more number of cases, yes, maybe we can extend the lockdown there. But where the mandals, or we can go down to the mandal level. We could say, okay, if this mandal if this mandal doesn't have enough more cases, maybe we use the lockdown so that the farmers can go back to the fields, the labor can go back to the fields, and the food processing industry comes back, and industry also, manufacturing industry also come back and do their work. Otherwise, if we keep on extending it, I know maybe a middle class person, above middle class person can survive in this lockdown for some more time, but a person below poverty line, daily wage labor, those people are really struggling to get their ends meet. More importantly, I'm sure there must have been a lot of people who've spoken about the migrant labor who have been struggling with regards to getting stranded somewhere else in some other place, and their kids being somewhere else, not having enough money in their pockets to survive. So taking in all these issues into consideration, we should extend the lockdown in places where more number of cases, which mandals have more number of cases, and ease where which mandals doesn't have more number of cases.
Okay, let's take up that point and let me take it back to Professor Saugata Roy. Professor Roy, does that make more sense to say, okay, maybe in the green zones and surrounding areas, you allow more amount of economic activity and business activity. You allow the farmers to move about more freely. In rural areas, you bring in a set of more relief, while you just keep the hot spots and the red zones separate and continue with a strict lockdown here, because there is only so much that we can afford economically also speaking. We need to ensure that people have money, people have food to eat as well.
Very true. I'm totally agree with the view that farming activities should be resumed. You will see that most of the hotspots are in big towns, big cities, Mumbai, Pune, Indore, Bhopal, Ahmedabad, Surat. So rural areas are relatively free of coronavirus. But the point I am trying to make, that you said earlier that most of the chief ministers agreed to extend the lockdown. It's not true. Out of the 9 chief ministers who spoke, 5 were for lifting the lockdown. Because now we have to think of a post-lockdown scenario. And for that, how to restart agricultural activities, small industries, manufacturing, how to solve the migrant issues, how the migrants can be sent back, and when they are sent back, how will they be sustained? The main question is of a fiscal stimulus. The government announced earlier of a fiscal stimulus of 1 lakh crore or something. It is insufficient. Many people say 10% of GDP should be spent, should be given as fiscal stimulus. At least let it be 5%. That the government is not announcing. So what I am worried is that yes, Corona has its own rules. We have to, as the Prime Minister said, we have to abide by whatever the doctors prescribe us. But we have to think of a post-Corona situation as to how people will live, whether people will starve without jobs, without money, without food. All these matters have to be looked into. I expect that the center would work out overall plan and show us a way by which we can go forward after the Corona. Corona will not be the end of the world.
Okay.
We'll definitely have to wait till
Tanvi,
all
can I say
areas are
something?
cleared of Corona.
Yes, it's not going. Yeah, it won't be the end of the world, but it's also not going away anytime soon. Very quickly, last comments from Mr. Atul Anjan, and then Clyde, I'll come to you. Yes, Mr. Anjan. Mr. Anjan, do you think it's better if we look at some zones where there can be more amount of movement and activity that are largely unaffected from Corona, while we continue with the focus on zones where there are higher number of cases?
Tanviji, I just want to draw your attention. We are worried about the migrant laborers, it's true. But what is happening in the rural India? Rural India is facing unprecedented crisis. Last 15 days, hailstorm, unexpected rains have destroyed in UP, Eastern UP, Bihar and Jharkhand and some parts of Rajasthan, 11 lakh acres of land, standing crop of maize and wheat has destroyed. No central team has gone there. Economic evaluation has to be done. That's in the name. We have to fight Corona at one hand. On the other hand, economic distress cannot be kept aside, because ultimately more than 65 crore people in the rural India is facing unprecedented crisis. Horrible stories are there which has not been reported. The issues are not being reported. You think 1,925 rupees is the minimum support price of the wheat, and there is no taker. There is no taker. There is no money to the purchase centers. And the middlemen are purchasing 1,650 rupees per quintal, and the farmers are small, poor, middle class farmers are forced to sell it because they have to live somewhere. No economic activity. We have to think. And I request one last one. One request. I request to the Prime Minister. Please discuss Corona at the same time. You call the political parties, you call the chief ministers, you call the other intellectuals, economic experts, have a meeting. At one hand, we will fight together with the center and state government together against the Corona and virus and its impact. On the other hand, we will give suggestion how to revive the collapsing economy for the further development of the country. That I request to the Prime Minister.
All right. Clyde wanted to come in. Go ahead, please. Make your point.
Yeah. Tanvi, I'll try and say this quickly to you. I understand, what Mr. Anjan is saying, and I understand what you're saying all this while. Yes, we are staring at a very bleak future in terms of, economy, in terms of finances. The people who are earning daily are suffering today. A lot of people, like you and me, are also going through a lot of problems financially, which is going to be a big issue. I understand that. And I also understand that the responsibility lies on the government, whether it's the central government or the state government. The responsibility is on the government to make sure things go right and things are there for the people. But I also feel, and I talk also as a citizen, and I also talk as someone who's out there, that the responsibility also lies on all of us as individuals, the citizens of this country, that the best thing we can do is right now is to support the government in these times of crisis. And the best support that we can do right now is to stay home. Mm-hmm. Only step out if we need essentials. I'll tell you, after April 20th, when there was talk about, kind of easing out certain things, a lot of people just went out randomly on the streets, and people went out, whether they had work or not. And that actually forced the government to actually take back a lot of the, the release or the ease that they had given. Now, if you are going to do something like this, then the government will be compelled to go back to stricter ways of, putting the lockdown. So the best thing that everybody can do right now is to support the government. And support is stay home, only step out to buy your basic essentials and come back. Yeah. We will go through this for a while, but we'll come out.
Yes, Clyde, I just need to, I'm short on time. I need one comment from Mr. Devarayallu as well, since we, couldn't go to him in the first part of the conversation. What is it that your state has also demanded from the center as we look towards the last week of this lockdown? What help is the state seeking from the central government?
The main help any state is looking for is the economic stimulus. Right now, if you see the amount of GST being collected, the other taxes being collected, it has literally come to 10% of what it used to be. And because of that, in the coming month, we won't be able to actually pay out the full salaries or, do our necessary expenditures which we have planned in this financial year. For that to happen, we are looking for our finance minister and our prime minister to actually come out and extend some sort of economic stimulus, because the last press meet or last economic stimulus that has been announced was almost, correct me if I'm wrong, it is almost a month back. But there's a definite need from a finance minister of country to actually come over and give the second COVID economic plan, so that my problem with the whole of this lockdown being extended or being there for the last 25 days or 30 days is if the virus doesn't catch you, let's not make the poverty catch the people. So for that to not to happen, for the poverty to not to catch the people, I expect a finance minister and a prime minister to come out and give out the second COVID economic stimulus, so that the people, actual beneficiaries, can get help out of it.
Well, Mr. Devarayallu, I agree with you. Lockdown or no lockdown, whichever way we decide to go, in whatever form we decide to continue with our restrictions post May 3rd, an economic stimulus, a plan for the economy, a plan to give money to the states, a plan to help the industry, the farmers, the laborers, that is need of the hour, and that's required right now from the central government on priority. Thank you so much to all of our panelists for joining us right now. Viewers, in the next 1 week, we will see a lot more of these meetings. Center will continue to hold consultations with various states and state representatives to decide on what the next stage of strategy has to be. Suffice to say, there are still many parts of this country that have largely been unaffected by corona, and maybe they can get some relief. But there are those zones, orange zones and red zones, and especially these red zones, the hotspots, where we are still seeing a high number of cases, and perhaps it will not be prudent to bring in any kind of relief there until and unless we're able to even judge the extent of problem. We'll continue to get you all of those updates. Quick break on this show, lots more on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. Now, you may have heard that the Reserve Bank of India today came out with a measure, a special liquidity window to be provided by the banks for mutual funds worth 50,000 crore rupees. Few days ago, viewers, we told you about the fact that Franklin Templeton had decided to wind up 6 of its debt schemes. and that there was some amount of concern when it came to debt mutual funds and mutual funds in general. The response that we've seen from the Reserve Bank of India is in the line with that entire issue. But what is really happening? Why are these concerns there? What's the correlation between the pandemic, the halt in the economic activity, and the concern for your mutual funds? Should you be worried as a mutual fund investor? Should it be for the debt schemes only, or if you've put money elsewhere? Let's just try and understand all of this and see which way are we headed. And to help us decode this, I've got three experts who are joining us right now. Dhirendra Kumar, CEO of Value Research, is with us. Mrin Agarwal, financial educator, founder director of FinSafe India Private Limited. But first up, I want to go across to Mr. Balasubramanian, Managing Director and CEO for Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. Mr. Subramanian, I would actually ask you to just help our viewers first understand what was this, panic that was there in some investors. What were we seeing happen in the market that the Reserve Bank of India had to come out with such a step?
Yeah, I think clearly, if you look at, I think the way the fixed income market has been functioning. While the one side there has been a liquidity which has been coming into the fixed income market, and the RBI has been cutting the interest rates and beginning with the interest rate continuously. Even on 27th of March they did it. At the same time, the liquidity to buy the paper which are rated below AAA and AA plus generally has been low, and we have seen some bit of credit apprehension that we can call it. So this is what I think was happening. I think the mutual fund industry managed about 15 lakh crore, and within that, close to about 70-80,000 crores is the credit risk fund, which is largely driven by most of the fund houses. And Templeton, while of course has been building these portfolios, when there were lack of liquidity, when there is continuous redemption just coming, especially on some of his funds, I think he chose the option of the closing down the funds and then eventually sell the assets and give it to the investors. In this period, I think from the bond market point of view, from the money market point of view, and the financial system point of view, the Reserve Bank of India, as being the central bank, has to also think about how to bring the financial market stability and calmness in the market, and especially when mutual fund goes through a problem, then it will have, of course, cascading impact on the entire financial market. Therefore, Reserve Bank of India came with the provision yesterday that any mutual fund players who wants the liquidity for liquidating their assets for want of meeting the redemption payment, they can, of course, tap the resources of the Reserve Bank of India window, either for selling the securities or by doing a repo transactions with respective banks, or by taking a loan against some of the portfolios and meet any of the redemptions if it comes. The moment it came in the morning today, it came as actually a booster to the confidence of the market, and a result of that, whatever the fear that was there in the weekend, post the fallout of the 6 schemes shutting down of Templeton, the entire thing had disappeared in the morning to a large extent. That's the background. I think it normally happens. Even 2008 crisis, the similar thing happened. And somewhat similar thing that we are seeing actually happening this time also.
Okay, all right. But let me then ask this question, that the steps that have been taken, will they really allay the concerns or stop what we are seeing happen in the markets right now? Because the economic activity has come to a halt. People are also, concerned right now, running out of money. They may start dipping into their savings and pulling out the money. Will what Reserve Bank of India has done today, will that help, Mr. Balasubramanian?
Yeah, it will help on, of course, removing the fear. I think the bond market point of view, always for the financial market stability, you need a confidence in the mind of every lender and borrower. I think that's what RBI is doing, it cutting the interest rates, bringing more liquidity in the system in the form of repo. Which they did about 3 weeks back in the form of long-term repo they provided. Then they came with the measures called targeted long-term repo for providing liquidity to both the NBFCs as well as the mutual funds. And now they have done today the SLF facility they are given for mutual fund up to 50,000 crores. All these things are more towards one, making the market relatively easy to trade, easy to transact between each other from the borrowing and lending point of view, and also boost the confidence. What RBI has done, I think the measures will definitely bring in confidence in the market. It's always a question, I think, whether it will be sufficient or not, that only time will tell that how much of the demand will be met out of this. And believe me, as people start feeling the comfort that yes, I put money in mutual funds, I can redeem, and people are able to meet the redemptions. What has happened in Templeton will not happen to every fund houses. That will bring back the confidence. To bring back the confidence, what RBI has done, definitely I think it will help in soothing the whole systems. I think that's the way one has to look at it.
Okay.
And the moment the soothing of system comes, then naturally the belief system remains in the whole mutual fund space and in the financial market as well.
All right. So, all right, I request you to stay on. Let me get in Dhirendra as well before I go to Mrin. Dhirendra, well, it may be a confidence booster, and to allay some amount of, or to calm down the nerves of those in the bond markets. What does it do to a common man, to a small-time investor who may have put away his savings in some or the other mutual fund? Should that person also be scared?
No, the confidence is, it's confidence inspiring that the regulator is there. And the absence of liquidity was actually, was very damning, because if people can't access their money, it creates a general, scare, and people run out to get their money, which they don't even need, because given that my money will become locked in or it will become inaccessible. So this confidence booster was meaningful. Not only that, RBI in its statement today has also said that this is, it will go about doing things, whatever more will be needed. So in that sense, it is an open-ended promise. Also, I think that the way it has been designed, it is just not a confidence booster for the heck of it. It is quite meaningful. Bala can actually explain it in greater detail, that people can actually look at it as a loan against mutual funds. At the same time, they can actually get put their maturity. Banks will have, on a 9% yielding security, one will have a clear spread of 4.5-5%, which is quite meaningful, because one is to provide liquidity and the other is to provide liquidity at a reasonable price. And in that sense, it is a reasonably priced liquidity made enabled. Of course, banks will have the discretion to choose where to lend, what to buy, what not to, and that too with an enablement, and which will not be clubbed with their general risk assets. So in that sense, RBI has actually taken a big step to provide meaningful liquidity, which will be confidence inspiring, and stability of the market is very much a regulator's goal, and they have achieved that.
Okay, Mrin, if you want to add to what Dhirendra is saying, because obviously right now there is a lot of concern. Not too many retail investors are, even well versed with the difference between what they're getting into with a debt scheme versus an equity scheme, and if the dangers for the both in the current market scenario will be the same. Should they start pulling out their money? Should they wait? What should happen?
Well, I think, certainly they should not panic, because, all this panic was there because people were worried whether they could actually pull out their money, and whether, the same thing that happened with Templeton would happen to the other funds as well, and whether they would not be able to even pull out of schemes like the ultra short bond fund. So I think, two things have happened. I think most of the funds have allayed fears on their own funds by putting out notes on their portfolios. And, with this liquidity, certainly investors don't need to be worried that, they won't have access to their monies. So that's point one. But I think at the same time, investors do need to look at the sort of funds that they're holding, look at why did they get into these funds, because, one thing that's certainly very clear is that a lot of times investors choose funds based on near-term performance, and that's one thing that they really need to stop doing right now. They need to look at the risk involved before they actually look at the near-term performance. It's just like when you have a choice of investing in a fixed deposit, you have a scheduled bank and then you have a cooperative bank, and you may not choose the cooperative bank even if it's giving higher returns because of the risk involved. So, I think investors at this point really need to start thinking about and start evaluating the risk that's there in their holdings over just looking at returns. And I think certainly protection of capital is very important in the current situation that we are facing right now.
Okay, but should there be concern outside of the debt schemes? Should the investors watch out for what's happening there as well? Mrin?
It's always a good thing to watch out for your portfolio, but no way are the debt schemes going to have an effect on the equity schemes? Because the equity schemes invest into stocks, they're stock market related, so they really don't have anything to do with these bond funds. So to that extent, no. But yes, it's always good to watch out on your portfolio and your holdings and to see what's happening out there.
Okay. My last question to Mr. Balasubramanian before we wrap this up. Mr. Balasubramanian, before this conversation, we were talking actually about the lockdown extension or the possibility of what life would be like post May 3rd. Now, if largely we still see, at least in the main cities and main financial centers and hubs, lockdown will continue, will that kind of a halt on economic activity further, add concerns to the markets, to the fund houses as well? Will you then seek some more amount of relief from the RBI?
I think clearly lockdown has got definitely impact on the economic growth, the cash flow that is being generated by companies, which of course gets delayed. To the extent the company's earnings could come off, that cash flow that gets generated to the company will come off, and that could have some impact. I think given the fact the Reserve Bank of India has identified this one area of concern, they need to address it. I think they have given actually time frame, moratorium they are given for some of the loans and other things that they are given, which essentially means probably they'll have to probably go back and revisit some of those moratorium announcements they have made. And having said that, from the mutual fund point of view, even during the lockdown period of last 1 month, I think they have been working efficiently, sitting at home, seamlessly meeting all the customers, the needs, whether it is from subscriptions, redemptions, everything's being met. I don't think that will have any impact from a transaction point of view. Of course, from investment point of view, the way I think the portfolios have been constructed, I think we did some analysis for the entire mutual fund industry space. 93% of the funds are invested in AAA and AA+, including government securities and public sector bonds across the mutual funds and debt schemes. And when you have to talk about our own funds, 93% of the funds are invested in high quality names. Therefore, creating liquidity to make redemption is not an issue. At the same time, one should also keep in mind the interest rates at this point of time, the way RBI has cut interest rates. Most of the banks are giving surplus money to Reserve Bank of India at 3.75%. The moment RBI takes some kind of call that you guys don't put so much money with RBI, won't go and lend the money in the market, believe me, I think the whole system will change. That could probably bring back the sentiment in the market as well. Therefore, I don't see that any extension of lockdown could have any impact from the mutual operation point of view. It could potentially, of course, have an impact on the companies who are in general, I'm saying not only for the mutual perspective, in general, it can affect the cash flows to the extent maybe they'll have to take more steps in giving an extension even for some other activities.
Okay, I'm completely out of time. I will thank all three of you for joining us for this quick conversation and really, simplifying and decoding this whole complicated issue for our viewers who are also investors who do want to know what happens to their savings and what they should be doing next. So thank you so much for taking the time out. Viewers, one thing is very simple. As far as the debt schemes are concerned, the crimes at Franklin Templeton has decided to wind up. There is always a risk involved. They are high risk, high return schemes. Obviously, many experts say that it's not just the problem with that those set of schemes had. There will be many other similar ones which may be facing the pressure right now. And why is that happening? Because we are in the midst of an halt on our economic activity. We were witnessing an economic slowdown that's been further hurt now, and the companies are unable to repay their debt, service their debt, and that's really triggered all of this, leading to the point where you and I stand today as far as the debt schemes are concerned. But the Reserve Bank of India has responded quickly and has come out with a set of relief options today. They're watching the situation closely, so you as a mutual fund investor should not be concerned right now. And if the redemptions actually continue to grow, then that might actually add more pressure on the industry. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. Quick break, lots more on the other side. Stay with me.